Hello everybody, my name is Nairi. Today it's a family chat video, so a little bit more informal. I've got two adopted sons and I like to talk about things around childhood trauma, adoption and fostering. So if that's interesting to you, please subscribe. So my boys are teenagers now, and we've had them for a very long time. When we fostered them, they were 2 and 3. And then later, quite a few years later, we adopted them. So I think I can speak from experience about the effects of childhood trauma and things that go on in our family, how that might actually happen to you as well if you're fostering or adopting. So this family chat is about, I'm going to start with Halloween. All right, Halloween. Ugh. Okay, it's definitely not something that we really celebrate as a family, but it's definitely something that impacts our family quite big way. So what I noticed with my younger son leading up to Halloween, although I didn't quite twig that this is what it was, I definitely should have, he was getting really just bizarre really with his behaviours, and I was relaxing up in my bedroom, and my husband was trying to sort him out with something. I can't think of what it was. I don't know if it was bedtime or not. I don't think it was. And I could hear him getting really leery and loud and attitudey. And I thought, this is just really odd. And this wasn't the day before Halloween. This was quite a few days before. And I'd noticed him getting more agitated. I'm going to talk about those behaviours in a minute, what that looks like for us. But he just burst into my room. And I went, what's wrong? He went, I'm really angry. I said, oh, okay, what are you angry about? He said, I don't know, school. And then he went off again. I thought, oh, this is so odd. And then a bit later he came in and I said, come here and tell me what is wrong. And he just said Halloween. And the penny dropped. It should have dropped before. The penny dropped because we don't really celebrate it, okay? Don't come at me, but we're a Christian family. I've never been into it when we birth children. We don't really celebrate it. I'm not completely against if they want to do some fun things around it, but normally our churches, and our particular church at the moment, we have a light party, so they can do lots of things that you may do at a Halloween party without the scary, ghoulish, spooky, okay? But that party is more for younger children now, and our boys are older. So we normally have something for them to do on the night. They don't just sit at home looking at each other. So I gave him a cuddle anyway, and I said, look, you know it's one night, and you know that a lot of the things that you see are not real, and that it'll be gone, finished and done. But the trouble we have around it is that he wants to do something for it, but he doesn't like the whole sinister side of it. And whenever we've fostered children, whenever we've been around children that have come, from an anxious background, they really struggle with it. They struggle with the faces that get seen, and because children with childhood trauma often dream and have monsters coming at them and horrible nightmares, and I just think this whole thing kind of impacts on it. So he doesn't like Halloween, but he still wants the fun element of it. Anyway, the other thing that happened as well, and I'm going to talk about the internet in a minute, okay? Separate subject, big family problem really for us, but is he'd seen the killer clown come up on a feed, and that killer clown thing absolutely freaks him out. Some of the children at school have made up something about a killer clown, being in the area, and as soon as he sees that, he really freaks out. So he'd seen that as well. So anyway, yeah, gave him a cuddle, blah blah blah, and they went to the light party, and there's always sweets, so that made up for it. So he went as an older child, and my older son went as well. We had other families that we were taking, and they sort of supervised the other children and got involved with that, and that calmed things down. Also, he goes to Army Cadets, and they had sort of a party where there was a bit of apple bobbing and that type of thing, and he really enjoyed that. So that was done and dusted. This is the trouble around the boys. They have extreme anxiety and excitement around things, but they still want to do things as well, and it's an eclectic mixture. Let me know in the comments if you have the same problem. Not necessarily with Halloween, although I bet some of you do, but this whole building yourself up to a thing, a date, a party, and then the anxiety happens. So let me just talk about some of the behaviours as well that I see in mainly my younger son, but there are some stuff around my older son which maybe I shouldn't discuss so much because it's maybe a little bit more personal. But my younger son has begun to identify his anxiety, which is great because it means that we can talk about it. And I'm sure I've mentioned these things before, but being that this is a chatty video, I'm going to mention it again. So what happens around these heightened anxiety times is he starts to try and micromanage everything, and it looks like OCD, and he calls it his OCD. Now, this is one of the reasons why we went for an autistic assessment for him, because of some of these patterned behaviours. And what he tries to do is get everything just so. So he came in to me, this is not when he was having this outburst, this was another night, I think, after we'd already addressed that we knew what it was. And I think might have had a headache, so I was laying in bed and I had the cover sort of semi over me, kind of a bit lumpy because it doesn't bother me, you know. I'm just totally not the type of person who worries about this sort of thing. And he came in and he smoothed my cover down like this, and he went, "Sorry, Mum, it's just my OCD." And I said, "You realise that people will not go with that, don't you?" And he went, "Yeah, I do, but it is what it is." And he starts to, at the dinner table, he starts to sort of move things around, not on his plate, but configures knives and forks in a certain way or cups in a certain way. He'll stroke and smooth the table down, even though there's nothing on it. And you just see these physical manifestations of what is going on inside of him. But fortunately, he knows what that is now, and we can talk about it. Whereas when he was younger, I don't think those things were quite as obvious. It would be other things, but we couldn't talk about it, whereas now we can. And it's really, really helpful to be able to do that. So that's him, okay? Now we've got, in the UK, we have the 5th of November, which is Bonfire Firework Night, which is a fun celebration, nothing sinister about it. Well, unless you think about the fact it's celebrating the blowing up of Parliament, but you know what I mean, there's no spookiness around it. It's just fireworks and bonfire and eating nice things. And we've got one of my adult daughters, because I've got 5 birth children, is invited us to go over for firework night. Now, they really love it. I mean, the last time we did it, because my daughter's husband is quite into the fireworks and also is an outdoorsy sort of person, he allowed them to light some of the fireworks. I know, don't come at me, I could not watch, but I recognise that the boys need to have experiences, and he was there supervising. Yeah, I think he was supervising, but they loved the responsibility of lighting the fireworks. There wasn't anything massive, but they love it. All right. Now, this does not have the spooky element. It doesn't have the sinister element, but I can guarantee to you there will be anxiety leading up to it. There will be lots of anxiety, and it will be lots of questions. And this will be both of the boys. How many fireworks do you think there will be? How long do you think it will go on for? Will it be dark outside? What sort of fireworks will it be? And will we get cold? Will we be hot? Well, you know, what food will we have? When will we eat? How many people will be there? All of that will keep happening leading up to the event. So a little bit of advice, if I can help it, I never tell the boys about anything until I absolutely have to. One, in case it's, excuse my husband, he's drilling. Yes, he's drilling in the background. One, because what if it doesn't happen or somebody's ill and we can't go? And 2, because the anxiety is just too much around excitement and happy things. And that is something I think that does happen with children with childhood trauma. So yes, we have that coming up. I will probably let you know how that goes, and just, you know, check in and let you know that nobody blew themselves up. So that was that. Now, recently, I can see my battery's dying, but we'll keep going. Recently, we've been away for a couple of days to go and see my son and his wife. And this is something which I found really, really difficult. We went and had a really, really lovely time. But what I found really hard about both boys, more one than the other, to be fair, my older son loves spending time with my birth son. So he had quite a lot of time when he went off for dog walks with my son, and he didn't have his phone with him. But what I'm finding really difficult is, and I don't know whether this is anxiety or just literally addictive behaviour. I find it really hard with a younger son, because every time there was a spare moment, whether it be in the car, even at midnight when I'm trying to travel home and it's pitch dark, or in between events when we were doing things, he just wanted to get on his phone, wanted to get on his phone, wanted to get on his phone. And I was talking to my son about this, my birth son, who was really lovely and gets on really well with the boys, and we were talking about rules and boundaries, and he was saying, well mum, you know, it's an addictive thing. He said, if you're gonna let him have it, then he's gonna get pulled back into it. Isn't it easier to say, okay, you're not having it now, or you're having it now? And he said, but if you let him have it in the car, then I think you're putting too many rules in place. And I said to him, I think I know I am, but I worry about them. And I said, trying to take the phone away is more like a punishment, and obviously is all his friends will have access to the phones most of the time. I mean, I think we're pretty good, because we take the phones off of them at night if we work out they're anywhere near them, and we make sure they go to bed at a sensible time. Well, I know that doesn't happen with a lot of the friends. You know, if we've got a phone in our room that we've retrieved, 1 o'clock in the morning there might be a notification from a friend, so I know this. But I said to him, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's really hard not to be panicky as a mum and try to put rules in place which actually are not going to work. Because if I'm letting him have it in the car, I can't say to him, because this is what happened, I said, oh, look at that amazing view. You need to enjoy this view. Because we were in the Brecon Beacons in Wales and it was fabulous. The boys are not interested in the view. And I'm trying to say to them, and my son went, you need to enjoy the view. Are you enjoying the view? Sort of mocking me a bit. I mean, he wasn't being horrible to me. We're having a bit of fun over it. He said, I don't think you can make them enjoy the view, mum, because they've got the phones with them. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But anyway, what I was trying to say is I just worry about them so much with their phones, particularly the younger one. He's got such an addictive kind of behaviour pattern. And I realise that teenagers have this. Please forgive me. I'm not running my boys down. I love them dearly. I just worry. I worry about the fact that he literally, if he goes to the toilet, he'll try and take his phone with him. If he, you know, it's just, I find it very stressful. And I don't know what to do about it, all right? I'll be honest, I do not know what to do about it. I don't even know whether to firm up and say, right, you're having a whole week without it, or just go, do you know what? I'm going to have to go with the tide. Well, do not know. Anyway, so that's that. So that was a lovely, lovely time away. I find it very refreshing, and I'm going to get on to sort of mental health around adopters and foster carers very shortly. So hang on in there. I find it very refreshing to be in somebody else's house. His wife is really lovely, very accommodating. I feel very at home around them. I don't feel judged. I feel like I can really relax. We just went for one day, stayed overnight, was with them the next day, watched the rugby and came home, and that was enough for me. So getting on to mental health for us, carers, parents, adoptive parents, foster parents, getting on to that. I find the constant sort of having to watch out and parent in a much finer detail way than what I needed to with my birth children quite demanding. I feel like we are backpedaling a lot of the time. So we've had other incidents recently where my other son sort of hid stuff in his room, and we've had some very difficult internet stuff. So I did say I would allude to that. I'm not going to go into it, but suffice to say that some of my worst fears have probably happened now, and I'm really disappointed. I feel like we've tried our best to protect the boys. We've had lots of parent controls and restrictions and things. Maybe if I was to look back, I would say maybe we weren't checking those phones enough, but we do check them. So again, my only advice to you is check those phones regularly, weekly if you can. Don't forget to check, because you will get a hint of where things are going. And maybe we had our foot off the pedal for more time than we normally do, and yeah, my worst fear was realised. I don't want to go into it, it's quite upsetting, but we had to have lots of conversations with both boys. Both boys have fallen into a couple of traps, different ones, but yeah, equally horrible. We had to have conversations, quite open, quite blunt. I let my husband deal with it because I didn't feel I could quite go down that route. But actually, they both realised. This is the thing. They both realised that what they were probably looking at, what they were doing was not great. And it was from friends had encouraged them and told them where to go, where to look. And even though we've got all the parent controls on there, those friends are very influential in their lives, and I think the boys are very vulnerable to that. They're not the leader type dominant characters in reality. Even though the little one's quite dominant at home, they are the followers that will go, oh yes, I need to do that because you're doing that and you're popular, so I'm going to do that. And I find that really sad, that actually they do listen to us, they do know that what we're saying is right, but a friend, a peer group will be stronger, will suck them in, especially as teenagers. And I feel really sad about that, because I feel like my boys have probably seen stuff they shouldn't see at their age. And yes, of course, we all did things we shouldn't do when we were younger. I've got some things I'd rather not confess to, but I just think, yeah, the stuff they see is just way worse than anything we would have been exposed to, and I just think it's really sad. So yeah, that's a sad element. But you know, I'm trying to tell myself, getting back to the mental health, that I am not responsible for everything that goes wrong with my boys. And this is very deep-seated for me from childhood experiences, which I won't go into, but I've noticed about myself that I blame myself for everything that might go wrong with the boys, and I do that around my own birth children, and that is a mental health thing that can drag you really, really low. And so I'm going to encourage you and encourage myself to not do that. And I'm also going to say that having your own hobbies, pastimes, just getting away for that little break, I didn't really, if I'm honest with you, I didn't really want the hassle. I've got to the point now where sometimes I don't want the hassle of going away on breaks, but sometimes you need a different environment, you need a new hobby. I stick with my hobbies. My husband and I don't work anymore. We were running a chain of day nurseries. That's what we call them in our country. So we built up the business to 8 nurseries, and got to the point where the needs of the boys and the needs of the business, that it was just too much. Okay, so we sold the business about 5 years ago, and so we don't work, but we do have other interests, hobbies, volunteering and stuff like that. But it would be very easy to be sucked into everything about the boys. Everything they need has to be met. Every problem they have is down to us or me. And sometimes you need to take yourself out of that. You don't want to let yourself get into the secondary trauma issue that you are kind of like reliving and re-experiencing everything that they are going through, because sometimes it is because they're more vulnerable that they do get sucked in. But anyway, talking to myself and to you is self-care. I know lots of people say it, but doing it is a lot harder than talking about it. Self-care has to be a priority if you want to be there for them in a real way. If you want to be there for them when things really go wrong, or you want to be there for them for the joys, self-care has to come in some ways before then, because you are then a reliable source of emotional support for them. So that's that. The only thing I want to say is that there is membership on my website, on my channel, and if you have a check of that, you can see what the charges of that are. And I hope to come out with a membership video soon, which is just for members. So if anybody joins or anybody's on membership and they want to make suggestions, I'll be more than happy to try and accommodate that. So thank you for watching Fly Little Birds. Check out my channel and I'll see you soon.